Right, City of Rockaway Beach City Forest Stewardship Plan Advisory Committee meeting on Thursday, August 21st, 2025 will now come to order. Let's record who is in attendance. Commissioner Sandra Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Maxfield.
Yes.
Commissioner Lydia Hess.
Yes.
Darlene Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nancy Lanyon.
Yes.
Counselor Kylie Conrad.
Yes.
And Mayor McNeely is present. This is our inaugural meeting, and we have no minutes to approve, and we'll move on to public comment.
Yeah.
Okay. To make it all official. The public comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. Each person has 4 minutes to speak. Our governing body takes the input into consideration. However, in observance of Oregon open meeting laws, this isn't the time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Our city manager is taking notes of action as needed. The electronic egg next to our city manager will count down, giving speakers a 1 minute warning. I have the sign up sheet. Anyone joining us remotely who wishes provide comment can notify the meeting monitor now by clicking the raise hand icon, and we will add you to the sign up sheet. We have no online guests, and we have nobody signed up on the sheet. So we'll move on to new business. So let's start with introductions. After the train kind of settles down, we'll go around the room counterclockwise. And please state your name and what motivated you for joining the Forest Stewardship Plan Advisory Committee.
OCSR introduced. Yeah. That would be too long to shorten the long.
So with that, I will turn to my right, Counselor.
And you wanted me to say why I wanted to be on this?
Introduce yourself and why you.
Okay, I'm Sandra Johnson, and I wanted to be on this committee because I have been involved in working with the city for several years now on trying to protect and preserve the Jetty Creek watershed. I was on the prior committee and hope to see more progress, and I'm just real thrilled with the city's progress so far.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Weir. I'm with Sustainable Northwest, and I've been contacting and supporting the city on a lot of things, maybe all things Jetty Creek over the past 2 years. And I'm excited to be a part of the committee to kind of help shepherd the development of the Forest Stewardship Plan through the process. I have a good relationship with the forester who is recently coming under contract or soon to come under contract to develop this Forest Stewardship Plan, and I'm hoping to act as a liaison to get this plan developed. And with Sustainable Northwest, we really want to see as many communities as possible own and manage their drinking watersheds for long-term sustainability. And so it's exciting to see this momentum this year.
Thank you.
I'm Lydia Hess, and I am, like Sandra, have was part of the FSPAC. Can't say all the words. FSPAC committee, and which is the precursor to this particular group and committee. I'm an avid conservation person who wants to preserve and protect the Jetty Creek watershed for the future. And I'd like to have, to be part of our system going forward, deciding, helping to pave the way for what we're going to be doing with watershed.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jason Maxfield. I, like Lydia and Sandra, was also on the previous committee before, which was a really great experience. I learned a lot and got to know other folks on the committee and enjoyed it. And came to realize that the work we're to do on this committee is actually where a lot of important decisions are gonna be made, where a lot of concerns people had previously that weren't really addressed by that committee, will be more relevant here. So, yeah, I'm motivated to be on this because I like water. Tap water is my beverage of choice, and I want to have good, clean water that tastes good and is safe. And I think we take for granted having an abundant water here, but a lot of communities don't, and we need to be responsible about managing it. So I'm really glad for the work all of us in the city are doing to make that happen.
Good, thank you.
Nice. Yeah, hello, I'm Luke Shepherd, city manager for the city of Rockaway Beach. Not part of the committee, but I'm here because development of the forest stewardship plans have a critical part of the overall Jenny Creek acquisition project. And I'm here to make sure it goes smoothly, make sure this committee has the resources it needs to get the job done, and also help shepherd the project through along with Daniel Weir and Public Works Director Mertz. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Lamb, and they had all these great things said to say, and I'm just, like I said, very nervous, but I can't wait going forward. I've always been very passionate about the water quality since I first moved here because I became sick and went inland for 4 days. I was well and came back and then got sick again. So I've been trying to be a part of improving our water quality, which it has been, but now this is really going to be great. I am not going to do as well at homework as Manager Shepherd, but I'm already trying, and I look forward to that. I have to mention for Daniel Weir, the wall was set up one of the original comprehensive joining together various organizations for Cattlemen's Association to local tribes, and it included the Nature Conservancy and Sustainable Northwest. And so I think we're a really great company, and I'm proud of Rockaway Beach to draw in so many outstanding organizations. And I will loan this to anyone. It's just 20 chapters about the history of things like this. A generous nature to read. If it were being written now, we would be part of it, this type of book. I'm really happy to be with you.
Thank you.
I'm Mary Mertz. I'm the Public Works Director for Rockaway, with Luke shepherding the project through. Thank you very much to Weir for really making it move forward. And I live here in Bridgewater, and for Public Works perspective, I look at this more as an infrastructure project and a way for us to increase our water supply.
Thank you.
My name is Kylie Konoff, and I am a city councilor for the city of Rockaway. And I was sort of strongly encouraged to become the liaison for this committee. One of the things that was and is really important to me as being a city councilor is protecting our beautiful community for generations to come. And I have raised one daughter in this community who has now moved on. And I have a current daughter in high school here and plan on, having my home here for years to come. And I want to make sure that when and if my kids come back, that they are left with a really amazing, safe community. And I think that this is a really great place to start. So I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but we're going to jump in with both feet and figure it all out.
Thank you.
My name's Darlene Johnson, and I've owned property here in Rockaway Beach since 2011, but recently I moved here to become a full-time resident. I'm a long-time person that's always been active in my communities. From when I was back in White Salmon, I was actually they have a completely different water issue where they don't have enough water rights, and they have to limit the amount of buildings that can happen because they don't have enough water rights. I was very active with that committee, trying to help them develop solutions on finding additional water rights. So I'm always involved with my communities, and I'm interested in being a contributing member. I feel like I have a lot to catch up on because I know there's been a lot of work done by the prior members. I'm not familiar with everything that's going on, but I am a quick learner, and I'm very privileged and honored to be on this committee.
And I'm Mayor Charles McNeely. I started to think about Jetty Creek and Water because of conversations I had with Counselor Mary McGinnis. And then in the summer of 2023, Counselor McGinnis and I sat with Superintendent Emerson and City Manager Shepherd and began talking about a $50,000 grant that would allow us to do a source water protection plan. We graciously recruited Commissioner Johnson to write that grant, and she wrote a very successful grant, and that's really what kicked this whole thing off. I will say, City Manager Shepherd's been a long believer in this, but the right people arrived on City Council. The energy sort of all came together in the summer of 2023, and so here we are. I'm not a voting member of this committee. I sit in as mayor by charter. I'm a member of all committees. So the next thing we're going to do is elect a chairperson from the actual committee members. So, which is we'll now elect a Forest Stewardship Plan Advisory Committee chairperson. This chairperson shall act as parliamentarian and encourage full participation of committee members in the work of the Forest Stewardship Plan Advisory Committee while keeping the committee focused on their approved purpose, and appointments shall be made by motion. So I will now entertain a motion for a nomination of an individual on the committee as chairperson.
I move to appoint Sandra Johnson as chair of this committee.
I did the last one. Why don't we give someone else a do that?
Well, that was pretty my rationale for it, because you did such an excellent job, and you were, I think, the most informed of us. If you prefer not.
Need another motion for a chairperson for.
I motion that we ask Jason Maxfield to be the chair. I will second that motion.
That was quick. Thank you. All right. Moved and seconded that the Forest Stewardship Plan Advisory Committee appoints Jason Maxfield. Is there any discussion from the committee members?
Sounds great to me.
I think Jason is very smart and he's really good speaker, and he's going to be a great leader of our group. And he also knows a lot about trees. I love that tree. Yes, he does. Is your title forest or trees biologist? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's plant biology, but it's forest research related stuff. Although it's been canceled by the federal government, so who knows what the future holds. But that's what I've been doing for the last decade.
And he's a greengrocer.
Any other comments or discussion? All right, since there's no further discussion, let's vote. Commissioner Sandra Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jason Maxfield.
Aye.
Commissioner Lydia Hess.
Yes.
Darlene Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Nancy Landon.
Yeah.
The motion passes unanimously, and I now turn the meeting over to Chair Jason Maxfield. Okay.
And the gavel.
The chair recognizes and welcomes Daniel Weir, Sustainable Northwest, to cover agenda items C through F. The floor is yours.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for taking the time this afternoon, and for those of you who are going to be joining tomorrow for the tour. You have if you're able to start, I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to walk through. And as it's getting loaded, I want to just welcome Morgan, who is with Northwest Land Conservancy. And some of you, maybe all of you may know him, but Morgan, you just want to.
Yeah. I'm sure you're more than
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Thank you. Northwest Land Conservancy and CLC has been involved in these efforts for how many years now? The genesis, and we're here to help support the city and the Northwest, protecting the land and for stewardship of it. We protect land in general. We have predator forest, and we've worked to steward and restore over the years. So that's what things we can bring to the table for this committee in particular. Some of our experience we've learned. Happy to support right hand be a resource you individually or
Don't let me stop you from getting your coffee. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew. Morgan's a great resource, and CLC has been a great partner in this process. As many of you know, the Jetty Creek watershed conversation has been ongoing for the past decade, if not longer, likely longer. And in the past handful of years, it's picked up a lot of momentum with the city's intention of acquiring the lower portion of the Jetty Creek watershed. Something that's an important piece to inform the management prior to, but mainly following any acquisition, is a forest stewardship plan. So the forest stewardship plan is a tool that will inform on a 10-year timeline what needs to be done to for the Jetty Creek watershed. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to walk through it. We're not going to make any firm decisions on it, but I'll give an overview of the specifics and the nuances of a forest stewardship plan. And then as a group, we're going to at least begin to define what the vision is of the stewardship plan. And then once we have that loosely defined, we're going to identify goals that help us achieve that vision. And, as we wrap up the meeting, I think we'll be able to have some next steps of when this committee comes back together, what we'll be expecting, and kind of some interim. I don't want to say homework because I don't think you're going to get any homework, but feedback that we're going to hope that you can lead for the community. Next slide, please. So, like I mentioned before, what is a forest stewardship plan? A forest stewardship plan is a framework for decision-making of forest management. Forest stewardship plans look different, but really what they're doing is they're satisfying long-term intention of the landowner. So what this forest stewardship plan will do is it's going to identify and outline overarching goals, and then those goals will have policies and management recommendations to achieve the identified goals. This forest stewardship plan is going to be informed by you, but we have a forester who's coming on contract, Ben Hayes with Springboard Forestry, who has done a number of community watershed specific forest stewardship plans, and he's an acting forester for the city of Astoria. And I know folks on your prior committee visited the city of Astoria's watershed, and I believe if it's possible, this group or members of this group could at some point revisit the Astoria watershed just to see his expertise, see what kind of a long-term forest managed for water quality can look like. So anyway, this plan will be designed and informed by an expert forester, and that's, in this case, that's Ben Hayes. Next slide, please. So a stewardship plan, it's a pretty large document. It has a lot of aspects, a lot of components. It's going to start off with an overview, which is going to be talking about the property as a whole. And then to help guide the plan itself, there's going to be a purpose section, which is going to contain the vision and the goals, which we're going to work through, but then it's also going to have a high level discuss the policies and objectives. Also in a forest stewardship plan, there's going to be conversation around specific forest management activities, and what it's the job of the forest stewardship plan and of this committee to do is to identify what management activities should or shouldn't take place, and if those management activities are taking place, what are the reflecting policies. So we're starting off, and likely the first draft, you'll see a wide array of management activities and policies, and your feedback will inform Ben and will inform the rest of this group as to, where do we focus our energy and our priorities, and where do we not prioritize. Next slide, please. So in terms of breaking it down by section, the property overview or the property background, it's really going to look at the property and describe the property as a whole. What it's looked like in the past, from 1900 to present day, who the different ownerships have been, what different management activity has taken place, what issues have come to light on the property, and what the goal is, or I guess, why a forest stewardship plan is being made. And that's the introductory section. It's something where if someone picks up a forest stewardship plan, they're probably not going to read all 60 or 80 pages. They might read the first 5, and this is what they're going to learn. And mainly that's going to be drafted by our forester There's a lot of available information about Jetty Creek. When he goes up on the property, he's gonna learn a lot of information about Jetty Creek. And then, maybe through informal conversation with people who've been involved in the property, he'll learn more in draft. Next slide, please. The plan purpose, again, that's gonna have that higher level overview, that higher level identification of vision. And this is where we're gonna work through today. Again, we don't need to finalize it, but just having a working vision or kind of the main priorities will be helpful, so I can go back and talk with the forester, talk with Ben and say, we've heard this X, Y, and Z from the Stewardship Advisory Committee. Let's start a plan in that direction. And then we're gonna identify basic goals and objectives. Those objectives are mainly, they're gonna have to feed back up and satisfy the vision that we're talking about. Again, we're gonna talk about policies, and those policies that will be mainly informed by the forester, but as the advisory committee, you'll be able to provide feedback on those policies. And then what I want to highlight here, because I haven't mentioned it yet, is the concept of governance. When the city acquires the watershed, there's going to need to be another structure in place that's going to make sure that what recommendations are made in this stewardship plan can be implemented, or if there's a wide array of recommendations that are made, which are the highest priority. The plan will identify that on its own, but of course, there's a reality of where's their budget for specific implementation, and where's the accountability metric. We want to make sure that there's a governance structure in place, whether it's directly through city council, whether it's through other management committees, to make sure that it is all moving forward and approved in the way that it should, and that's up to you to kind of advise. So this section will be informed by the committee and at a broader sense informed by. Next slide. And then the more nuts and bolts, every forest management plan has forest management, or forest stewardship forest management plan has forest management activities. That includes road maintenance. The property itself has a good road system, but the conversation is around how to maintain the roads, how to manage the roads, how to construct or deconstruct roads. What do we want to see done? And there's also a conversation around timber stand improvement for the health of the forest, for the supply of water, for the quality of water. What would timber stand improvement look like, and how to implement that? Of course, with every forested property, there's a conversation around timber harvest, and that's something that's important to acknowledge and discuss in a forest stewardship plan. And then planting activities, if there needs to be species replanted in the watershed, what are the priority species? It's also important to discuss access, whether it's for fire management mitigation, whether it's legal access for the landowners on the far side of the property who have an easement through the roads. What does that access look like? Or the larger conversation of what does access and public access look like on a property owned by the city? Next slide. And of course, there's forest management. There's forest management activities, and then there's the policies which inform those activities. So specific policies might be, around every stream, there's a level of a stream width that we want to maintain. There's the state baseline standards, which is what a typical forest manager will manage for. There's extended standards, which is what ecological forestry companies manage for. And then there's ecological buffer standards and riparian zones. That's a conversation that's going to come out of this process. There's harvest levels. There's a whole array of levels of harvest from zero to the industrial timber management model. So it's important to discuss what the best outcome would be. Again, when we're taking a step back and understanding this plan is being made with the purpose of water quality and water availability. If any harvest activity is taking place, it's important to understand what opening sizes look like. Again, this is more technical, what tree retention looks like, and then what road maintenance or chemical use looks like. And when we say road maintenance, some of it is standard. Even if you own a property that doesn't have any timber harvest taking place, the roads still need to exist for legal purposes, for fire prevention, and so making sure that there's a standard road maintenance protocol in place. It's an important policy. And chemical use, I think this is a, you know, a pretty common policy discussion, especially since we're in a drinking watershed. There's a heightened sensitivity to using chemicals in the watershed as it could impact at any level the what's feeding into the water treatment plant. And so again, that will be a conversation that will be informed by your feedback. And then invasive species, if there's a no chemical use recommendation made by this policy, then it's important to understand, okay, how are we going to handle invasive species? Are there risks of invasive species? Are there risks of invasive species to water quality, to availability, to increased fire rates? And then, you know, all forest properties have potential species, high conservation value species that require different forest habitats to be successful. I don't believe that there are specific marble murrelet habitat in the Jetty Creek, Lower Jetty Creek watershed, but there's potential in the longer run of there being habitat if managed in a direction that allows for that. So again, that's a policy that could come up. And that photo right there, that's an example of what we've seen an organization do that's actually looking to increase their water availability, is, you know, alternative types of forest spacing so that there's more. This is a higher elevation project, so they're looking at snow retention. And by opening up trees, opening up the forest, have less trees in certain areas, they're actually seeing increases in water availability. So just one of those potential policies that could be used in a forest to ensure more water availability. Next slide, please. So there are a number of types of management plans. There are strategic management plans, which are identifying policies and activities and saying, we will implement these activities when the time comes. There's operational plans, which take more forest data, specifically the information that the landowner has that says you have forests that are certain. This stand is 15 years old, this stand is 65 years old. And here are the recommendations on a stand by stand level. There's also a technical plan, which it goes past the operational plan and is making recommendations for roads, recommendations for forest management activities. And then there's a harvest plan, which is, we have this stand, we want to harvest at this rate, we want to treat it, like we shouldn't say harvest, we want to treat it at this rate, whatever the outcome is. What we're doing in this process is the first one, the strategic plan. And we're doing that because the current landowner, Nuveen, isn't comfortable sharing their timber data until the property comes into city ownership. So that strategic plan will be designed so that when the timber data becomes available, we can quickly transition that into an operational plan. So in my conversation with the forester, his expectation is the strategic plan will very easily plug and play with the new data, and it will be able to have operational recommendations. Next slide, please. So again, I've mentioned it. You are here to inform myself and inform our forester on what the overarching theme, the overarching design of this plan should be. So we're going to talk about the vision and we're going to talk about the goals. When we have those, I'll bring them back in a month, maybe a bit longer after talking with the forester, and we'll have kind of an outline of management activities and management policies. It's not going to be a finalized draft, but with the information you provide us today, we'll be able to come back and have that next step. So next slide, please. Where the forester's going to lead the plan. I mean, he's the one who's going to be out in the woods most of the time. He's going to be the one who understands the highest risk areas, the highest priority areas, the basic property health. And he's the one who has the historical context. He's been a forester who's been working on the coast for the past decade, so he kind of knows the ins and outs of the property and prior ownerships and prior management. And so he'll be developing that overview, and then he'll be designing all of the management activities and policy recommendations. Once this plan is in place, like I mentioned, and once the property comes into city ownership, then he'll be able to turn the strategic plan into an operational plan without a significant lift or a significant reinvestment of time and money. Next slide, please. So I imagine some of you have seen this information before in some level, but what we are talking about is we are talking about the lower half of the Jetty Creek watershed. So what that is and what the landowner has provided us is 800 acres, of which 595 acres are within the watershed. So kind of the ridges that funnel into the city's water treatment plant. But with this, there's also 205 acres that are outside of the watershed. So within this plan's development, there's going to be a conversation of management of forest outside of the watershed versus inside of the watershed. What does that look like? This property is owned by Nuveen Natural Capital. Before they bought the property, the prior landowner was actively harvesting. And they harvested a majority of the timber stands between 2005 and 2015. I don't believe any harvest took place after 2015, but maybe 2016, 2017. I know Nuveen hasn't harvested since they bought the property. And again, I don't know much before 2005 if harvests have taken place, but you'll see tomorrow when we're on the property, there have been a couple life cycles of timber harvest that have taken place. And like I mentioned, this Jetty Creek and its tributaries feed into the water treatment plant. So I just want to remind everyone, when we're thinking about a forest stewardship plan, we're thinking about a forest stewardship plan that's in line with delivering high quality drinking water, and more importantly, or as important, delivering reliable quantities of drinking water. But in doing that, there's other goals and outcomes that could take place from owning and managing forest land, and it's the responsibility of this plan to identify those and identify policies and management activities. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions. We have a bit of an interactive day today, in which what we're going to do is we're going to discuss what a vision looks like for the drinking watershed. And in the plan, there will be a 1-paragraph note that will say the city of Rockaway Beach's vision for the Jetty Creek watershed is this, or prioritizes X, Y, or Z. From what we've heard previously, what we've heard from the drinking water protection plan, what we've heard from prior community engagement events, is that there's an interest in water availability, there's an interest in water quality, there's an interest in water affordability, or affordability more broadly, and then there's the hope that this is a tool for community benefit. So I've come with a set of poster boards and post-it notes with the hope that we can, whether we want to just discuss this out loud between ourselves, or whether we want to take a few moments to look at the different notes that have been shared in the past and write some notes up on these post-it boards. It would be, a great first step to think about where is the top level priority of the Lower Jetty Creek watershed, where are the second level priorities, and where are nice to have outcomes that will then feed back into our vision. And following this, maybe we can spend, it's 3 right now, so maybe we can spend 20 minutes or a half an hour on this, and then come back together and start identifying some goals that can inform our vision. So how does that sound yet before we start working? Any questions?
Are we going to ask our questions of you before we do this or after?
You can start asking now, and if they come up.
Thanks, just a few basic, because you hit on, don't mind. What areas can't we know or ask about? I'm just wondering, what can we not even talk about?
Specific timber data,
Okay,
in terms of like how many trees, how old are the trees, how much are the trees worth, that type of stuff.
Thank you. And the information, as you mentioned, from town halls, et cetera, public input that we already have, and from the advisory committee for watershed protection, do you have data collected already that you've gone through?
Yes.
What the city of Rockaway Beach has, and when will that be presented?
That's a good question. Some of it, kind of the highest level points are included on these.
Okay,
They're kind of written out on these. I can present, or I can follow up and share that information. I guess I'll work with the city on, because we did a session in September of last year. But that work session, it wasn't part of this committee. And so I want to kind of use that as a guideline, some of what we've heard, but not that be all.
because it'll inform us for the
Exactly.
community. One last, I'm sorry, do we know the access permissions yet for, timber industry coming through? Did we ever find that out yet? For what we are obligated to permit for, timber, I guess?
To go through to other
Yeah, like,
timberlands.
cause I asked that a long
transportation
time
easement.
ago, yeah.
Yeah, I think most of those are easement. So, other
Yes.
timber companies will have to use.
Yeah, so the road system, has an easement for the landowner of the upper, Simpson, the landowner of the upper half of the watershed. I believe it's an easement that's in perpetuity.
In perpetuity and no limitations, so they can have as much traffic as they.
Yeah, and I think, in conversation with Stimson, right, it'll ebb and flow in terms of what their use of the property would be. But I think there's no kind of limits. You can't have more than X number of log trucks going through or stuff like that.
Thanks.
And Stimson mainly uses the property and the main Jetty Creek main line. If you go back to where the map is, I can point it out. I don't know if we have roads on this map. This map is looking at high level stand age, so timber stand age, which we'll see tomorrow for those who can join, but this road right here is the Jetty Creek main line. And that comes up and out of the watershed. Stimson has a borrow pit for where they get their rock for the roads that they build. It's outside of the watershed, but that is as they're building, roads in different parts of their forest land ownership. They were talking about it today. It's good quality rock in their mind. So it's easier for them and cheaper for them to use the rock out of the pit that they own. So that is probably what sees the most consistent traffic. In terms of their timber age, you'll see it's pretty young. And this is the upper half of the watershed. So they're not going to be driving through in the short term, in the next 20 years, and doing a lot of forestry harvest. Again, things could change in 15 years, but just based on the age of the property, it's going to be possible for them to manage. But I don't want to make any firm commitments for them as well. But mainly, yeah, so there's that one main road that comes through, and then they have another road that comes up through the middle of the property as well. Again, mainly the use that Stimson's going to be having of the property is for that borrow pit, and then to keep their roads in good condition, they need to brush and kind of keep that push.
May I add something?
Please.
So in the meeting today, we have with the forester from Stimson Lumber and the road maintenance individual. They explain they're on a 45-year cycle. So they harvest, they plant, care for, they invest. 45 years later, they harvest again. And I think they're about 15 years since they last harvested. So they said it's 25 years out before they would harvest again. Now, as you said, Daniel, the world could change tomorrow, but that's their standard, has been their standard for a long time. So, but that's I think that's good news for us long term as we move through this project and look at then next engaging Stimson in acquiring their part of the watershed. They're not going to be out there. And I'll also say the two gentlemen we met with were absolutely delightful, open, forthcoming, that really care about good stewardship of the land and the forest. I was impressed.
Do you happen to know if Stimson allows public access to their timberlands now? Do they allow hunting or hiking or any of that stuff?
I believe so. I can double check while we're working on this. But Stimson, I believe, allows public access. The current landowner, Nuveen, allows public access on a permit basis.
Okay. What timeline are we looking at for our strategic plan?
That's a good question. That is my last slide. It's not even my last slide. I was gonna tell you.
Can we, 'cause we're
Yeah.
excited.
So this timeline, we wanna have a draft by the end of the year. Because that aligns with one of the applications the city has to the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Program. And they don't need to see, at least as far as I know, they don't need to see a final version. And they don't need to see any of the forest numbers. But they wanna see that if money comes to the city before the acquisition, that there's a management plan in place with recommendations, so that they know that the money, and this is the same with Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, with their funding as well, so that they know that the city will manage the property in line with how it applied for funding and how it was awarded funding.
Or, oh, wait, it's not October
October of
of this year, I thought
October of 2026.
okay, thanks.
Yes, good to check. Otherwise, our blood pressure will go up a little bit.
Well, it has some other great things, to acquisition programs, but,
And so the OF funding was awarded in April on an 18-month from when the award was announced to when the money needs to be transferred. And I think that there's a bit of flexibility there, but that was their initial timeline. And they're willing to work to make this program successful since it's the first iteration of it, and they wanna do everything they can to see a successful project.
With respect to the data, timber data that we don't have access to, how big of a variable might that be in like what we're able to prioritize?
Not that big. You'll see it tomorrow when you're out in the field. The forest, Ben can look at a stand and say, that stand's 10 years old, it hasn't been thinned, it should be thinned. And he can look at a stand and say, that stand is 50 years old or 40 years old. And it's been thinned, it's mature age. And he can look at where there's invasives or where there's, more alder interspersed. He'll be able to view it and say loosely, here's what should be done. Here's what the general structure is. The data that they have, it's more like numbers of trees that are on specific stands that are specific ages. So we can look at it and discuss it high level. What's nice about the property is it's only 800 acres. It's not thousands of acres. It's pretty uniform in terms of the condition it's in. There's a couple of older stands, but for the most part, it's between 8 and 20 years. Great. Any more questions? So I think the hope is what we can do is maybe look at the 4 priorities, the main overarching priorities that we've gathered before, and talk as a group. What do we feel, the vision should be? What's been written up there and what's been discussed in the past. What I've heard is that water availability is a huge priority, the lead priority, and water quality is the lead priority. I've also heard, and I've also seen, water affordability is important. And we've also heard that community benefit, whether that's the opportunity to be in the forest or whether that's the opportunity to continually grow as a community. Is there anything else that we think should be an overarching priority that we can discuss as a vision, at least initially for the watershed? Yeah, take a few minutes, look at the
So the
board.
idea is to, we can all write, or committee can add to that board
Yes.
on post-it notes.
And there are Sharpies there, if you don't wanna reinvent the wheel and you just wanna tally, like, yes, I support this specific bullet, we'll do that. That's possible as well.
Looks like we could build down from the asks, right?
And you can also, if there's some of the same language is on the affordability poster as on the environmental or economic benefit. And some of the same language is on water quality as on water availability, because what's been shared in the past, they're tied together so closely that
Did we put that low on, like, on stone or something?
yeah, maybe we can even put up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect, I was gonna grab that for you.
Mine's kind of light.
Oh, yeah. Well, I said this to you before, Daniel, I think, no interest in land ties and. The land we require, other than producing water.
Right.
Because of
Harvesting, I can sell.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and I think that, that's common for, watershed forest management plans, and what you'll see written is in timber harvest, it will say, or the water quality hub, we recommend no forest management. And that will,
Oh, yeah.
that, as long as it's written out, I think that's important to have in the plan, so that
You gotta get
in
structure to that.
12 years, when the next plan is being written, hopefully it's 10, but in 12 years when the next plan is being written, and a little bit of the institutional knowledge has moved elsewhere, that they know what the guiding goal was. So,
When I understand, Astoria was with a huge plot of land and there's affording some.
And there's some, we'll see it when we do site visits, there's some forest health treatments that could feign mature timber, and then the conversation becomes, if we're doing this management activity for the sole purpose of forest health, but this timber becomes available, how does that get handled?
Mhm.
And so that's, will be another item that's developed.
Question whether we even have that issue with all the harvesting that's been done.
There are stands that,
Yeah.
yes,
That's a
not a ton.
lot of those younger stands that, the watershed, they're going to reach a certain level of maturity for too long, decade or two, you're gonna need to be taking action to keep the forest healthy and keep it on, by reducing the trees out there. Some of that is actually applied earlier, and hopefully that's to make money off doing that, but as those trees continue to grow, they continue to get really, really dense, there's also gonna need to be some more work done at that point. There's more likely to be operations off that will actually also be supporting the overall water quality goals.
And it's my understanding that Astoria uses, that type of timber, and the income from that only for, the activities that they need to do to preserve their watershed. Or their,
I believe so, yeah, a lot of municipally owned forest land, watershed, wherever may be, that money, that revenue will go back into public works. Whether it's to reduce the water bills, or whether it's to, invest in infrastructure. Mainly that's what municipally owned watersheds will do, because there's not a shareholder that's expecting a revenue in return, right? It's being invested back.
That include thinning?
So there are different types of thinning. there's pre-commercial thinning, which takes place to set the forest on a trajectory that is as healthy as possible. And what that will do from a watershed perspective is by pre-commercial thinning, you'll remove the competing trees and reduce the amount of competition for water in the watershed. And you very unlikely that any revenue would be possible from pre-commercial thinning. But there is commercial thinning, which could return revenue, and also the trees that remain after commercial thinning will have less competition and they'll accelerate towards old growth characteristic, which is ideally what watershed that its sole purpose is around drinking water.
I have probably a weird question. I used to be the assessor in Clickatack County, and we had, your land could have lower taxes.
Yeah.
Depending on how you're zoned, and one of the things we had to do was if the homeowner or the property owner had to provide us with a forest stewardship plan.
Mhm.
And they had to say that they were going to harvest, because that's why they get low taxes.
In the forest.
Is that the way the system is set up here in Oregon, that you get reduced taxes if you are going to harvest?
So that's a good question, and I can look into that because I don't have a firm answer, but a property can be zoned forestry without having active management intention, I believe. And I think as a city-owned parcel, there would not be taxes on any
State taxes,
state tax.
property taxes.
Property taxes.
It's in Tillamook County though, so they
Yeah.
can have some tax money for it, right?
Yeah, it's always enough.
I'm not gonna speak for Tillamook County.
In
They can speak for themselves.
In general, yes, that is, extra. With the use that the city should be doing, I can say that's only that use, but I remember that the city doesn't have to be paying those taxes. You will still have to pay things like ODS, fire tax, things like that, based on acreage. We, even as a nonprofit, we pay those fire taxes as well. That's the program that supports like all the downtown rigs and stuff that go out in our quick response. We're like, yeah, we want to keep paying into that one.
Well, and I would approve a plan, even if it was like super limited harvesting, just as long as there was some sort of harvesting going on, so. Or a plan, and the reason is because they get their tax back from harvesting the timber later, they tax the timber instead of the land, and that's why it's reduced. And all the money goes to the schools, so.
Earlier when you were talking about pre-commercial thinning for health goals, are you defining health as just growth rate of trees? Is there like species diversity?
Oh, definitely species diversity. Growth rate of trees, specific areas, we might look at the property and think this area should have lower density, lower basal area on this stand because it's, on a steeper slope or it's on a flatter slope, or there's younger timber on this stand, or there's potential habitat here, right? So there's a bunch of different avenues. It's not just around tree growth rate. Typically though, when pre-commercial thinning takes place, it's mainly focused on forest health.
Mm-hmm.
But thinning density for timber production and thinning density for water availability might look like two different densities. And when we tell the forester we want water availability, what he'll say is, okay, I've recommended a thinning density based on your interest in water availability, not based on a potential interest in revenue.
So the work that I was going to do next that got canceled, planning for it, was looking at different thinning treatments on Washington State Forest Land up in Caldwell, Washington area, and looking at actual tree fizz health metrics. And I'm just wondering, with something like this, I know there's a lot of interest in looking at how that impacts tree health. Is there an opportunity to turn some of this into a research facility, to bring in potential academic or government funding for just monitoring tree health through it, rather than logging funding?
I think that's a question for the Stewardship Advisory Committee. There certainly is an opportunity for educational, for research. But I would say you can note that as a goal in your plan. But yeah,
I think it was listed as one of the potential
Yeah.
things of the, action plan. Sorry, get all that.
Yeah.
Acronyms all mixed up, but,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there we go. And, Forrester, like Ben Hayes, that you guys do work with, NCLC has worked with him on some of our properties and the kinds of prescriptions that he will, figure out for different stands, with water quality in mind, will include not just sort of forest pH and diversity, but it'll be looking at overall structure, like, okay, big trees, small trees, and some gaps, skips, things like that. We'll also be looking at how to improve soil health and, sort of the amount of material that's on the ground in some ways, because if you have bigger, older, rotting logs on the ground, over time that starts acting more like a sponge, helps soak things up, help limit runoff. Well, there's things like that that can happen either as part of them creations, city projects, that can also contribute to your long-term goals in terms of water quality, water. That'll be part of it.
I recall, something that foresters were saying at one point that, harvesting is, if you're just harvesting a small amount, actually, if you can't make very much money or something, because of the expense that you have to incur to just get the guys out there to do the harvest or whatever it is. So, when we talk about how, whether or not we would be harvesting for economic gain, we might wanna understand how much harvesting it takes to actually have a gain versus, it not really penciling out.
yeah, I think that when you identify goals, if the top goal is water quality, water health, and economic whether it's affordability, economic impact, whatever it may be, if that's a lower priority, then, whatever is to be done for water quality, water availability will supersede, okay, we can't make revenue off of it, but it's still the right management to do ecologically for water, for the watershed, for the city's intake. And so if that's the case, that's what will be presented, and recommended. And so it might incur more costs, but maybe it doesn't break even, but it's less cost incurred than just fully ecological outcome. But maybe you want the full ecological outcome because, like Morgan's saying, you're leaving timber on the ground, that increases more water retention.
I would add to that, like, trees don't grow super fast. So the nice thing about any of the forest management is they tend to end up with time windows. You're like, okay, for the next 5 to 10 years, next 20 to 25 years, things like you'll end up with time windows that'll also allow, say, the forest reach a fairly mature stage, and you're like, actually, oh, we still want to thin this for this reason. You can then be working with a forester, carry that out, and they might be like, yeah, I'll do it this year. The prices are down, like you're barely gonna break even on this, but you can do it if you want. Or like, hey, if you're gonna do it, this year is a pretty good year to do it because you can achieve your water quality goals and make a little more money in the process. It's pretty normal for forest land to say after it's been cut, clear cut, whatever, to you over the coming first portion of that lifetime of that stand to be putting more money in and you're taking out. The nice for that pre-commercial thin, right, other thinnings that might happen, that tends to be the trajectory of time, but there is funding available, and NCLC is taking advantage of this funding for some of our forest areas, that will help pay for, some of that thinning type of work on various different age stands that move things in the direction that you might want to go, whether it's for ecological or water quality purposes. There's funding available through state, sometimes federal sources that can pay for some of that, so the city isn't necessarily, gonna be on the hook for paying for those kinds of things. It depends on program availability, all those kinds of details, but, there's funding that can be available to help pay for some of those kinds of things.
Is, the cost of stewardship or, maintaining the forest, something that's discussed?
Yeah, so I would
among
say,
us, or
I would say the plan, the operational plan would come with recommendations and like annual management cost estimates. Obviously, their estimates, things get more expensive every year, it feels like. Just in the way that funding ebbs and flows, cost ebbs and flows, but we've seen projects along the coast where they've gone out to bid to thin the forest ecologically. And with the bidding process, they put out bids for 3 foresters or for 3 crews to manage. And they've seen really low bids coming in because there's less forestry that's going on. And so they see a project and say, I'm gonna bid low because I want this project. And so in the same way that the federal funding, hey, there might be a pool here through OWEB, or there might be, we'll give it a few years, but there might be federal funding coming back online. If it happens, there might be new programs that are introduced, or there might be cost share agreements with ODI. And so it's kind of, by having a plan in place, you can be nimble and you can say, oh, we have this surplus in our city budget this year, and we have this need in our forest. Let's, in the next 3 months, implement one of our management recommendations. And not have
so
to,
it becomes a budget.
yeah, it becomes a budget line item in the same way that fixing your pipes become a budget line item, except it's not an immediate need like a leak, right? Where,
Right.
72 hours, fix it.
I'm just curious, do we have like a sense of like we're here for a water plan, but everyone's really talking about the forest mostly because that's interesting. And
Well, now we're actually here for forest.
but there's there's a lot of interest in managing for ecological goals.
Yeah.
You're talking about like maybe managing for water supply. Do we know like it seems to my like back of the envelope math that there should be way more than enough water, like rain falling in that surface area to, for many towns Rockaway's size. It's the summer supply problem that's the issue, and maybe storage is an option or something. But like, do we know to what extent like we're going to have to prioritize water supply versus other ecological goals, like, or can we just kind of say that the water supply is there and we can talk mostly on ecological priorities?
So with younger forests, as they grow, they demand more water. So given that this property is mainly younger forest, as it increases in age, there will be more pressure put on the same amount of water falling. And, hopefully the rainfall remains relatively consistent over the coming years. And so if nothing were to be done to the forest and the same level of rainfall were to happen every single year, as the 5-year-old stands become 15-year-old stands, there's going to be more demand for the same amount of water. So in short, the priority likely should be around thinning for water quality and availability. Typically, for the most part, when you're managing for water quality and availability, other habitat benefits will come, but it's not one-to-one. Like some habitat benefits like down trees, increased sediment makes the public works staff life more difficult. But for the most part, where there's more water in the system, is better for better for fish, better for habitat.
Also, I know that the stand information is private, but do we know species information?
Yes.
Is it almost all hemlock?
It's hemlock, mainly hemlock, red cedar, western red cedar, Sitka spruce. There's a smattering of Doug fir, but Swiss neocast, as we were showing today, is a pretty big issue here. So I don't think Nuveen really put that much.
Yeah,
or I guess overhead.
The poor Douglas fir are very sad.
Yeah, until
Really sad.
or encourage it. But I'm wondering, like, there's the species mix for like an ecologically rich old growth forest would be very different than a commercial forest. Is there any consideration to intentionally planting to change the species mix going forward?
I think the first step would be thinning to, keep the species we want, and then the next steps. The first priority should be decreasing the demand for water. And then the second priority should be planting species, but there are enough native species that are in there that we populate naturally.
We also were able to secure funding that paid for planting, both in combination with something had done doing sort of skip cuts of certain spaces and sizes, and then interplanting into those so that we have more diversity. So there's funding that could be available for those kinds of things as well. My view is also back to the slide that so your prior question that my view is generally that ecological priorities and air quality priorities tend to kind of most times align in the same bucket. If you're looking at revenue versus those two, that's where you start to get more competition in choices, but generally the same kinds of forest conditions that are healthy, diverse habitat forest also tend to produce better water quality. And then there's some pretty amazing research showing how much more older stands versus younger stands, how much they catch in terms of water. Can't go through numbers to you off the top of my head, but it's somewhere like 20-50%.
Yeah, it's 50%.
And part of that is that anybody who's been around here on a foggy day in the summertime knows that a good portion of the woods during that time, sometimes the woods be pretty wet because it's catching dew. And those larger trees do that. They don't have to be big, but they have to be big enough where it's like tree versus just the short, dense dog hair portion of thing, which is kind of conditioned to come for a little bit of.
Mayor,
Climate change.
climate change.
Looking at forecasting climate change, will that play a role in our forestry?
Certainly, yeah, I mean, in the same, we wanna think about species and water demand, we wanna increase species that are both native to the area, but are also resilient to, like maybe when species get replanted, it's called assisted migration, that we've seen more and more of, where it's like, okay, we're gonna go a little bit down the coast, or a little bit more inland, where they get less rain, and the species still survives as well. I think that's a conversation that maybe we could have with Ed, when we're thinking about it a little bit more. But doing that, that's the 100-year goal, right? You're thinking about the 100-year, which would be maybe not what's in the 10-year stewardship plan, but kind of in the overarching strategy, transitioning to a climate resilient, old growth, speed points.
That be part of that same end planning in terms of sense of like we already see that we're getting more rain in more intense periods at the different times of year than we used to. And so shaping your forest in a way to make so that it's better able to catch and withstand those withstand those sort of onslaughts of more intense rain periods and also catch whatever is coming in. It doesn't all just run off as fast and it's better able to handle those heavy onslaughts of rain. It's like we've all seen the atmospheric river, that kind of thing, where things just feel a little bit. That's projected to become more common in the next years, and that fits pretty well into the timeline of what you can shape your forest to be going forward. So that's line up pretty well and actually help overall manage the impacts of those and ensuring that you have.
You're gonna be our last
Yes.
question, and then we're gonna kind of identify what a vision looks like. I think I'm hearing pretty similar
Okay.
goals from everybody.
When several of us went to the Nicanium, Picola watershed south of Seaside, I was very struck by, it ran the gamut as to how specific parcels were treated completely differently. This one really needs some TLC, others, let's just keep an eye on it, and others do not touch. So I know that it runs the gamut, and that's gonna be in the back of my mind. And even though we're talking about, to me, relatively small acreage, isn't it, for what we're getting?
Yes.
So, okay, thank you.
And there will be, I mean, because there's a variation in age, this forest doesn't have any remaining old growth or second growth. So it won't run the full gamut.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that the main vision should be around a reliable quantity of high quality drinking water. Does that feel accurate? Does that feel like a good representation? Do we want to talk about any additional community benefit, like for the benefit of the Rockaway Beach community? Do we want to call out anything, or do we just want to keep it succinct as reliable quantities of high quality drinking water, or do we want to tie it into community water users, portability?
I mean, I think there's also a lot of concern about forest health. And I think
Yeah.
something like reliable, high quality drinking water from a healthy, sustainable forest, something like that. You know, if you want to keep it succinct.
Yeah, I like the word resilience you used a
Resilient,
moment
yeah.
ago. Moving towards a resilient forest. And I know, I get climate change is
Yeah.
the long game, but we can set ourselves up moving forward with that in mind. I think that would be good. And yeah, I agree with Jason. It's about water quality. I mean, if you throw in a clause at the end for to serve the water usage needs of the city of Rockaway Beach now and on into the future, something like that, to anchor it in our community, because that's really what we're doing it for, is to make sure we've got water available.
Okay.
In prior, community meetings about the watershed, there was some concern about whether, the watershed would be available for hiking and biking and things like that, recreation essentially. And that kind of tied in with funding, some funds might be available for acquisition or for maintenance of the watershed if we allow that. Should we be, concerned about that issue along with protecting our water quality?
To go on with that, as far as funding goes, by allowing that recreation, would that mean that we could access funds that are available?
Talking about lodging tax?
Yes.
Yes, that opens the door for the use of lodging tax.
Well, particularly because part of this property is outside of the watershed, and to my rough geographic understanding, it's the part that faces the ocean, and
Faces 101.
so the view parts of it. And in a hypothetical future, it will be along the Salmon Berry Trail. So if there was possibility of hiking or maybe mountain bike paths through some 150 acres of it or something like that. I'm a big proponent of getting people into nature. I think that the big cedar tree is a huge education opportunity to encounter with nature is really important. And I think it could be a marketing opportunity, frankly, for Rockaway. More to do in this community. Come hike the trails.
Well, I think that a marketing opportunity, yes, but what I think that we all should always consider here is the funds to manage the forest. And so if we can, access funds that are available to us, it might be.
I think that's a good perspective to have. What I would say is, given the potential to lean into funding that requires access or, recreation, whatever it may be, it wouldn't make sense to implicitly disallow. I don't know if we need to, at this point in time, say, make the forest into a tool for recreation. But in the conversation around public access, discussing maintaining historical access standards and engaging the community in, let's see, something like engaging the community in the forest or using the forest as a resource for education opportunity.
Okay.
Public use.
An amazing amount of projects in Oregon, I'm sorry, I'm
No,
jump-
go ahead.
jumping in my hand. An amazing amount of large-scale projects in Oregon even had as simple as trail sponsorship. $10 a foot, and you're buying in like a trust for future generations, you know, making your family proud, but there are different proven ways of raising funding.
Well, and that's, I'm really on board with what you said, Jason, about the value of making it available to
Yeah.
people to engage with outdoors activities. And it's consistent with, I think, the ethos of Rockaway Beach. But we just need to be clear that that brings with it some costs and some challenges that wouldn't be there if we had more controlled access. So we just need to go into it with our eyes wide open and making sure that we're prepared to fund for staff, or prepare for the management aspects. I mean, we're gonna have a big nut to crack with managing the watershed.
Yeah.
We own it. I mean, we suddenly own road maintenance and all that other stuff too. Then there's another one that we would need to think about, and with that, can the city afford to do it? Is the, I guess, the question I'm asking.
And what I will say, in the development of a forest stewardship plan, it's not our forester's expertise to design trails or make trail recommendations. But what he can do is say, where the city want to provide public access opportunities, I would recommend it here.
Yep.
Or I would recommend it not be here. Cause you know,
That'd
he
be
kind
good.
of understands conceptually the way that drainage works, the way that runoff works, the soil types. Any big atmospheric river that comes in, you know, if you have a new trail that, no, it doesn't go across Jetty Creek, but it intersects with the road that goes down to Jetty Creek, like, that would increase sedimentation, increase runoff, which probably one of the priorities will be to minimize
Yeah.
sedimentation.
We worked with Ben as well on, a roads plan for, rainforest or, 35 page we have, which was looking at every road that's up there historic and active, and like what should be done and not done. What options were, what ones we might want to keep open, what ones are like, okay, you're not planning to do anything with that portion, and it's already mostly grown over, so that one just stay, let's dig out the things like that, maybe as well. As to that side, the other thing I was gonna mention was, everybody's used to the concepts of like regular infrastructure in terms we call gray infrastructure, like roads, pipes, things like that. Green infrastructure is a term that is more commonly used nowadays for things like a forest that would be providing society of people and community benefit in terms of water, like that. Thinking of that as infrastructure item and infrastructure cost potentially is another way to kind of change one's thinking about the costs and benefits of one side.
So when we're thinking about goals to inform our vision, again, our vision, something along the lines of reliable quality, high quality drinking water from a resilient forest structure to serve water quality needs for the city of Rockaway Beach now. That's the start. We can adjust it moving forward, but I think that's a great start. I think goal number 1, reliable quality of drinking water, is what I've heard. Goal number 2, continued delivery of high quality drinking water. There's been concerns in the past around needed treatment of the water. Do we want to call out the hope of reducing treatment costs or reducing treatment chemicals in the drinking, in the water treatment facility? Or does that feel like an overreach of the forest stewardship plan infrastructure? You know, it's kind of that green to gray.
Well, if we can do something in the watershed. So I think one of the promises we've kind of made as we've gone down this path is that we will reduce the costs, the use of chemicals, treating our water. I think we sort of made that commitment in conversations, and it's one, I think it's a good one. So something about reducing the cost of treating water, which goes to the affordability to our customers. And I don't know if you want to get as specific as reducing chemicals, but something I think about reducing the cost to treat our water, to produce our water, whatever the right thing would be a good goal.
I don't know, that much about what you have to treat it with. The water that we get right now, it's coming out of, what are we treating? What are we treating it? I know that we get chlorine, we have to have chlorine in there, and that's like required, but
Well, yeah,
how
so
would
we've
it
got-
be
we've got,
reduced?
one or two chemicals, one to adjust the pH, one as a coagulant to pull some of those dissolved, organics or minerals out of the water so they can be, trapped by the sedimentation tanks that we have. But the chemical usage is fairly minimal there. It's expensive. But it is fairly minimal, but most of our costs, at the water plant, a lot of our fixed costs with debt for the purchase of the water plant, maintenance on the equipment itself as it ages, that can be somewhat independent of water quality coming into the plant. Some things age just from use. And then, personnel costs, you have to have operators up there ready to maintain the plant, produce water, no matter what the water quality is. So there's a lot of costs that won't change much depending on how high the water quality is.
Yeah. So that's why I'm just asking, because I don't know that much about it, but I mean, how can doing whatever we do in the forest really change that?
The cost. Yeah, so I guess the question, what would decrease would be potential, high turbidity events. Turbidity, which require either taking the treatment plant offline or increased, trying to balance the pH. Or, I don't know, is there an increased cost when you're treating from the wells or drawing from the wells?
Yeah, I mean, and the biggest cost is a well. It's running 24/7, from, I don't know, 2-3 miles away, up a hill, 70 gallons a minute.
So it would,
So,
by having
but
more
by increasing the water
quantity.
quantity, the well doesn't.
So, yeah, so
Factor
that,
in
the
more
wells are a
quantity.
quantity issue versus, suspended sediment turbidity, which is a quality issue. And so maybe it's decreasing cost of water delivery. If we're talking about cost, rather than saying calling out chemical, or calling out cost of water treatment of water delivery to the end user. Or we don't talk about cost upfront if it's not a.
You kind of talked about it's a 10-year plan. In the first 10 years, this young stands, it's really gonna be about reducing the water demands in the forest. So maybe for the first 10 years, water availability is the priority, as well as, balancing, public use and sustainable recreation in the watershed.
Another question from someone who doesn't know how to run a forest. What, so would we be, forestry is gonna answer this, but to make less turbidity, is that, achieved through like more
So,
holding
yeah, so.
points along the creek?
Yes, and it's achieved by less road management, less road construction, because that's the main
That's gonna
issue is road construction. Which there isn't much, if really anything, right, it's
It's
been
there.
managed 4 times, there's been 3-4 harvests, so the roads are where the roads are.
And road use as well.
Yeah.
Log trucks weigh a lot and they pulverize when they drive over, and that's your runoff after that, and that's higher turbidity. So there's some road structural things that can happen around that. And then as part of your longer term planning, you can prioritize use adaptation in your approach to reservoirs management. So ensuring that you have good root structure and all stands, you're not taking out opportunity trees, so you're less likely to have slope stability issues. We all live on landslides around here. Reducing the vents that can put larger amounts of sediment into water. We work with a few different communities on water, water protection things, and talking with operators, one of their biggest challenges, biggest costs, is having to draw in dirtier water. Want to be drawing necessarily than is optimum. But
So it's turbidity and landslides that it's a real.
yeah, turbidity in general, and any of the sources that provide that, from little sloughing to, which can be natural, to larger landslides, and then
And evaporation, you mentioned climate change, so evaporation is gonna become, I think, more and more factors, root structure, evaporation. So depending upon how we plan, it will reduce, cost, definitely, because turbidity is such a huge problem.
Okay, this question's for my son. And I don't really know what I'm talking about, but he told me that the fecal matter content out of the streams in Rockaway Beach exceed safety levels like 90% of the time. And he wanted me to ask to see if the forest would be able to help protect from having high fecal matter in the streams, which affects, our recreational abilities here.
I think what he might be referencing is the state will take some samples along some of these creeks along the beach. in the
Right.
summertime When it's warm, low flows. And you've got creeks going through, urban area, deer, dogs, raccoons, taking care of business. Then it gets into the creek and the creeks are warm and so. So I don't know that the state is testing Jetty Creek for any kind of fecal coliform bacteria.
And the city tests it to make sure that it's drinkable, so.
It has to do with the beaches and the.
Yeah,
creeks, not the drinking water, it's just like the recreation, like.
Yeah.
People playing in the creek.
But that's good to know.
Jenny Creek, they're actually close to the Haley River. technically.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So it actually is gone.
People don't play in it much.
I think, so in 2004, DEQ noted fecal chloroform issues in Jenny Creek. 2004. And so that is, I think, the most recent finding of that, and I would assume that DEQ would have retested and would continue to retest that. But that has been noted historically.
Okay.
Because I do remember in some of the, maps that we pulled together for some of the cities.
And that's just animal
It's,
waste, I mean,
yeah, animal waste, I mean, people, yeah, I don't think there's really that much human activity up there, yeah. But it's something I'm sure that the city monitors for and gets tested.
For the drinking water.
Yeah, you
sure.
probably.
No problem.
Yeah. Bigger issues.
I knew that was.
But no, it's a good question. I mean, it is, historically, it has been noted. So if your son was looking up water issues, that would pop up, would pop up.
Get him on it, I'll get him on it.
Which area, there's a link to the Oregon Health
Health authority.
Okay,
Authority.
yeah.
Okay.
And you can look at all testing that's done going back and I looked at it and I think he'll be pleased. with
Okay,
What he finds. Our water is some of the best water around.
excellent.
are you calling on people?
Acknowledging that you're in them.
Get charged.
Both, Luke and Daniel made a comment about a short-term goal, will be to decrease demand for water in the watershed. What do you mean by that? How can we decrease demand in the watershed?
Remove trees.
Small trees.
Remove trees,
Okay.
pre-commercial thinning. Yeah, because those teenage trees, ages 8 to 20, 25, they're competing with 400, 300 other trees per acre. And so if you can cut that down to 200 trees per acre, that's half as much water demand. And just kind of that, given the age of the forest, that'll add up. And I don't think you can I don't think you're gonna see the water availability double when you do thinning, but there will be likely be increase.
I'm wondering if you describe that, but you flip it around and talk about, increasing the water available for production or something like that, as opposed to less demand on water, because people could go, oh, they want us to drink less water. I don't know if that's where you were going, but,
Well, the reference was to decrease water use in our watershed.
yeah,
Yeah, so I just wanted clarification on it. The trees are drinking it, yeah.
yeah, darn teenagers, always a challenge.
Always there.
When it's
You'll be there one day, Jason.
soon.
About 3 months. 13.
I mean, I'm just curious, do you recycle those thinned within the watershed, or are they removed from the watershed?
They will be, most likely, someone will go in with a handheld chainsaw. They'll cut down the tree at the base,
And
put it
just
on the
let it-
ground, it'll decompose.
And it just
after
let
the
it
season.
take.
Yeah, and it'll act as, like Morgan was saying, it'll act as a sponge. It'll hold water better, it'll increase the nutrients in the soil and reduce the soil stress.
And it's just like announced yesterday, that TEP was right.
Yeah.
Did we put up?
Yeah, that actually, we will, on the site visit tomorrow, you might see some of the contractors that are helping with that. We'll go right and you'll look left and you can kind of, maybe their equipment will still be up there. But yeah, they've cut down some of the trees to then put in the street. So it's in process.
We haven't really talked at all about fire risk there, and I think like to think that our forests are so wet here, but they can burn. Plymouth burn happened, and climate change is drying things out. Is there any fire management priority for watersheds versus other commercial forests? Like, could we get more resources there to protect it?
I think the main solution to fires in the Coast Range is having a good road system that is well mapped out, so that if a fire takes place, because most fires will be human caused, not all of them, but 99 times out of 100 they'll be human caused. So when that access conversation continues, it's making sure that there's adequate fire response, chain of command, and that those who are responding have the right keys to get on the property. And there's some forest health treatments you can do, but so much stuff grows out here, right? If you thin out trees, then there might be some Scotch fir or blackberry bushes that grow under, or ferns, which is all flammable. So fortunately, it's wet enough that there really isn't fire risk. That's not human caused. With climate change, it's increasing slightly, and will continue to increase. But yeah, having a well-mapped road system and a good relationship with the emergency response. And one of those things is, of course, fire is human caused. So with more access in the watershed, it's a risk. It's also it's also with more people in the watershed. There's oversight there. Like on the project in Arch Cape, there was a fire that was started by some hunters, and it was, within 20 minutes, someone in the community had identified exactly where it was because they were up in the property and they were able to help the fire district navigate to the fire itself. And so, it was out within before anything could happen. And I don't know, Morgan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's common for a lot of the police around here to shut their lands during certain fire danger levels, based on usually state recommendations, but sometimes they go up to like really down. We at our lands tend to follow whatever our neighbors are doing on that. Like, okay, y'all have the experience with that. Let's shut ours down too. So you have the opportunity to say shut portions or all of the forest down in particularly dry period. Say, hey, nobody's allowed here right now. We're gonna post it and like, hey, here's the land. Help us take care of this. The other thing I wanted to mention is that through your forest management practices, you can influence the fire danger and resiliency of your forest. Forests generally don't burn as one solid thing necessarily, particularly if they are not all the same age, So by increasing your species diversity, increasing your age structure, having younger trees, older trees, you're gonna increase the survivability of, in the case of a fire event, say one starts over on Happy Foley side, comes up and over. Your stands over in your forest will be better able to stand that fire, cover that fire, the more diverse and structurally variable it is. So those can be benefits of some of the other goals that you already have in the forest area. And then having that understory, having bigger, older trees, if you're going to reduce the temperatures down on the ground there, you're going to increase your overall sort of soil moisture level by doing that over time. And you're going to be able to have consistent and resilient system by doing that. So some of your management activities can actually eliminate the risk, but they can reduce the risk and reduce the effects, increase your resiliency over time. So there are some studies out there that sort of talk about that whole resource.
This is a really productive conversation. I know we've passed 4 and I don't want to keep you too long, so I'm just going to summarize some of the goals and objectives that I'm hearing. The first one is provide reliable quantities of drinking water, or maybe increase water availability for production. We'll workshop what that language looks like. I think either way, our forester will know what we're looking for there. Maybe we'll keep this, maybe we'll remove it, but minimize the required treatment, or minimize the cost of water delivery to the end user. Again, we can assess if that's a realistic commitment to make out of a forest stewardship plan at a future date, but at least to start. Utilize the forest as a resource for the community to engage with. And then establish a resilient forest structure to the future through forest management, forest stewardship activities. I think that kind of covers some of the health aspects, but also some of the fire risks. Is there anything else in terms of goals? Again, we're hoping all these goals tie back into reliable quantities of high quality drinking water from the forest to serve the needs now. Yeah.
At one point in our overall discussion of this area, a reservoir was brought up. Is that something that we want to just talk about?
Just storage in general, has that ever been explored, feasibility?
I mean, I know that it was sort of floating out there.
Yeah,
No pun
The
intended.
EPA ever gets funding.
yeah. I think with what funding we have available,
That's not a
if we can get the
possibility.
purchase, the acquisition, I think will be, that's.
Is that all we
you're-
can get?
I
Okay.
think it was
I
3 or
just
4
didn't know.
million for a raw water storage reservoir. Our engineers, and I think that's just out of
Out of our reach right now.
out of our reach right now.
Okay.
I think it was more. I think it was
Is it
8 or 9. Yeah. So
Even more so.
yeah.
That's like hurdle 4 or 5.
Okay,
We're
so
still back on the
I
full
just
one.
didn't know if we should,
And if the
Same.
acquisition goes through, there will be a suitable location for for a future reservoir in that parking lot. Potentially. I'm not making commitments.
No,
But
but,
that
but
would-
it is on the table, it's been talked about, and, if you mentioned the EPA, we had applied for an EPA grant, and part of that funding would have paid for, a raw storage,
okay,
reservoir, which would be a great add
yeah,
for.
but
for-
that's not something we need to put into this.
No, that would be
It's really-
outside of the.
It's really outside of the forest. Okay.
And even,
It's not a reservoir that's up there, it's a reservoir down.
and, you know, a good amount of investment has gone into getting the reservoir as large as it is right now.
Yeah.
In the past few years, so I think that that'll be referenced, like that'll be covered in the overview about us section of the.
The current reservoir is for turbidity, to minimize turbidity.
And there's a settling pond there,
It's a
but
set-
that's not the reservoir they're referring to.
There's a settling pond, and then there's a treated water reservoir.
Yeah,
storage facility.
yeah, there's about I think it's 100 or 200,000 gallon impounded up on the water plant site. Just enough to continue operations for little hits of turbidity. But really, it's just for settling, a place for the well to mix in. It's not a huge amount of water. It's gonna get us very far.
Okay, I'm just gonna jump in. I appreciate your comments, but I wanna wrap this up.
Yeah.
After this has to be another meeting before too long.
Yes. So those are the goals that I'm gonna share back to the forester, for him to start drafting the plan. Are there any other goals again? Quantity, delivery cost, forest as a resource for the community to engage with, resilient forest structure, and fires, tying those two together. Is there anything else that seems like we're totally missing? If not, we'll share this back out with you. If something comes up to you, feel free to send it my way. In terms of next steps, what I will do is I will sort through this and share this back with our forester, and we'll start drafting the plan. And he has kind of standard management activities, standard policies that probably will inform this plan. And then likely in the next meeting that we have together, he'll at least, will hopefully join in. And like I said, within the timeline, we want to get a draft forest stewardship plan by the end of the year. So a lot of what you'll see will be a fleshed out first kind of iteration. And we'll try and get you that information a week prior to the meeting so that you guys get feedback for that plan. I'm not sure how busy our forester is, so you'll all get to meet him tomorrow for those of you who are joining. He is much more succinct about well. He'll be really good at pointing out what we want to see, where we would prioritize work on the property city ownership. Long-term goal. And so with that, I believe we'll have a meeting in September. I think we'll work out what dates work. Next few weeks, I think that I'll coordinate with. But for the most part, these meetings will probably be virtual. It's nice to fund with hands-on activities, but when there's other site visit opportunities. Your chair.
Okay. Okay, me.
Copy me on that.
Next on the agenda, site visit guidelines. So the chair recognizes City Manager Shepherd to speak about guidelines for tomorrow's one.
I'll be quick. Since I don't have questions. So just a reminder, as an advisory committee, public meetings law pertains to what you do. The whole goal of public meetings law is to make sure that the decisions you all make as a body, how you reach those decisions, deliberation, document review, discussion, they all happen publicly. Place for the public to listen, hear, forward. So tomorrow, the site tour, it's actually an on-site inspection of the project that's going. So please look and listen and ask clarifying questions, but you really don't want to be having side discussions of whether other members pertain to anything that the committee might make a decision. Just to keep everything good public meeting.
And tomorrow we're meeting at 2 p.m. At the base of the Walk Freeman Park.
Just the parking lot of the park.
It's outside. Normally it's low right next to parking. Where parking is.
Yep.
That would be, yeah, I mean, it's not right next to the water treatment. So
Yeah, just, but literally just like right across from Jenny.
They know we're coming.
Okay.
I think it'll mainly be driving. We'll have three vehicles, city vehicles, one shuttle vehicle. And we'll have, I think, 4 stops throughout the tour. We'll look at an older stand. We'll look at a younger stand, a stand that historically has caused issues for drinking water. And then we'll look at a stand that needs to be themed for the Forester kind of stuff. Getting inspiration. Okay, next on the agenda is committee comments. I'd like to ask folks to keep these brief because we're over time, but any committee comments? We'll as we did before. Start with Nancy.
Can't wait.
I'm good, just excited for tomorrow.
I'm good.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. And Morgan, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody. This is a great group, and I really appreciate your time and you as well, Maxine.
Thank you.
So if there's no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.
Second, okay. It's moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. All right. The motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 4:15 p.m.